Well, good evening, one and all. Welcome to the first day of spring.
Yeah.
It's been a little chilly out, so you still have some time to do some repotting before it really starts to warm up. It's nice to see all of you again. I see we have a few new folks here. So I'd like you, if you're new or if this is one of your first meetings, we'll go around and you can introduce yourself to the club and we'll give you a nice welcome. Who wants to go? Who's new?
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Maines. I live in Northern Kentucky in Union. I went to your library.
That's right, yes, I remember you there.
Very much beginner to bonsai. I've got one that was gifted to me last year, which started the interest, and so I'm looking forward to learning more.
Yeah, welcome.
What's the best part? You look for? The University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Space.
Yeah, all right. Anybody else? I see.
Hi, my name is Doug. This is my wife Tori. We live way out in Felicity, and
Yeah.
we're both farmers and techs. I've been exploring bonsai a little bit. Don't own any yet. We want to check things out and see how it went.
Yeah, is she? Are you interested in bonsai too, or are you just here like as an emotional support person?
She's more looking for pottery stuff, so I'm
Oh.
like, make pots.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, we can all use some good pots. Welcome. Anyone else? Anyone? Okay.
My name is Carol. I live almost as far as they do. I'm in Moscow.
Wow.
I have, it's, I guess, a pre-bonsai planting, so I haven't done anything with it yet. I bought it in the summer, and so I'm getting ready to repot it. And I'm going to be out there this weekend or two.
Well, awesome. Welcome. Anyone else? I think that's it. All right, so we've got a couple of things coming up shortly. We do have our penjing workshop this Saturday, so if anybody still is interested in doing that, we have a few seats left. We also have an extra tray kit, a penjing kit. It's $135, so if you would like it, please see John Davis, and you can purchase it from him, and he will bring it on Saturday. Our April 5th is our first Saturday at the Crone, and if you haven't done that or you don't know what that is, anyone that's interested in hanging out, talking about bonsai, working on their own trees, and also chatting with visitors to the Crone, it's a lot of fun, and so we'd love to see you there. Our next meeting is April 17th, and that meeting we're going to talk about air layering. So anybody not know what air layering is or would like a brief explanation? Yes, Andrea said yes. So air layering is when you take an already growing and mature tree and you cut the bark off at a decent point where you want to create a new tree from that, and then you do some things to it, put it in some moss and wrap it up, and then in a few months it'll grow roots, hopefully, and you can cut it off and make a brand new bonsai that's already fairly well mature and on its way. So it's a lot of fun. It's pretty interesting that you can do that with a live tree. So we're going to be talking about that on the 19th, and then on the 21st, I thought I had that on there. Anyway, the 19th, Saturday the 19th, we will have an air layering workshop at the Crone Conservatory. The Crone Conservatory has been very kind in letting us access their property outside, and we'll be able to go around and to some of the trees on their property and create our own air layers. So we'll be putting air layers in that Saturday, and then in about 3 months, the July workshop, we will go back out there and cut off our air layers, and hopefully they will have sprouted roots and we can pot them up and start making bonsai with that. The Crone was very nice in letting us do that. In fact, they were very excited about it. And some of the folks there at the Crone will be there with us to help us and show us the trees that we're allowed to air layer off of. They've got a big grove of magnolia trees that we can use, as well as some of the other native species that they've got on premises. So that'll be a pretty good workshop. It's going to be relatively inexpensive. I think it'll be like $20 a person, and you'll get to do 2 air layers per person. Yeah, so that'll be pretty good. What? It is. It is exciting that Crone is letting us do that.
And native species.
And native species. So the penjing workshop, if you want to sign up for it, you don't have to purchase the kit that we have left available. It's $85 a person. It's always bring your own materials. So if you have the things at home, a group of trees, maybe some rocks, a large planter of some sort, and some moss, you're welcome to come and do that. We have probably about 7 seats left, somewhere in that neighborhood.
By head count, we have, hold on, math.
Anyway, we have seats left. Yeah.
Yeah, we have about 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Plus, our special guest will be the instructor for that. So it'll be pretty interesting. Coming up at the Crone, still ongoing, is Emerge. That is a really interesting and very nice display at the Crone. Yes?
If you're following the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise overtook the hare.
Did he? Okay. Well, I don't even know what that means, but
They acquire a
I know it the story, but
Yeah, and it's been moving.
oh,
Finally, the
by itself?
Yeah,
oh, it's amazing.
Wow.
it happens overnight when we're not there.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay. All right. That sounds pretty neat. We actually got a couple of, we got some interest from the Emerge show and from the bonsai collection. I did earlier this week 2 lectures for the Cincinnati Garden Club and the Amelia Garden Club about bonsai. Because they had come to Emerge, seen our collection, seen our little beginner's workshop advertising on that, got in touch, and we went out and talked bonsai. And Joanne did one for
At Wyoming Civic Center for the Garden Society.
the Wyoming, yeah. So the Crone is being very good to us and getting us a lot of interest in the society. So we have to keep thanking them and making sure that they know that we appreciate them. The butterfly show runs through, it'll start May 10th and it runs through mid-August. Of course, we need volunteers for that, as always. It's a Wednesday or a Saturday volunteer for 4 hours. So it's not bad, and you bring your bonsai tree in and work on it while you're sitting there talking to folks that are coming through the bonsai show. The beginners workshops are still happening. The April workshop is completely full. The July workshop is more than half full, and we already have a couple people for the October workshop. As always, we really need your help as a volunteer for that workshop. I know some of you have volunteered there before, but we have a lot of members, and hopefully we can get the 10 to 12 folks that we need for this. So if you're interested in volunteering, it's a great time because you're talking to people that know nothing about bonsai, and so they don't know that you know, that you may not know everything about bonsai. But that's okay because you get to spend time and you get to work on other people's trees, which is always fun. You can sign up on the website, cincinnatibonsai.org/volunteer. And also, if you know anybody that wants to take the workshop, please point them to our website. Does anybody have any questions? Chris? I have a couple in my car. Yes, so I can give you one. Yeah, well, they're stick-up, so they're sticky. You can put them on your window or in the store. Okay. All right. All right, well, without further ado, I would like to introduce our wonderful guest speaker, Marianne Duhamel. She is visiting us from Montreal. She started bonsai, well, she started penjing. Well, she was interested in art. Her degree, undergrad degree, is in visual arts, which she graduated in 2004, and then she decided that penjing and the styles of trees were super interesting and gave her an ability to use that in her art. And so then in 2011, she got a job at the Montreal Botanical Gardens, just doing regular work, and she saw all the penjing stuff there and got super interested in that. So in 2014, she got onto the penjing caretakers group, and then in 2021, she became the curator of the entire penjing collection. So interesting fact, she has no trees of any kind at her house. She,
Plenty at my work.
yeah. So she deals with the trees 8 hours a day. How many days a week do you work? 5, 6, 7?
We are lucky to working 4 days a week.
Okay, so
But it's a full-time job,
yes.
so it's
so
big
she has
days.
more time with her trees than most of us do. So that's more than plenty. She also loves bird watching, and that's really kind of her passion. If you look at her Instagram page, there's all kinds of great pictures of her with birds. So please welcome Marianne. So it'll just take a sec. We'll get her hooked up here.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here, so thank you for inviting me. So as you can hear, English is not my first language. I speak French, so I'll do my best. If you don't understand, don't hesitate to just stop me and I will repeat. But I practiced a lot, so I think it will be great. So I feel as he did my professional journey, so I will skip that. So what is a penjing? When I needed to explain quickly, I often said that it's the Chinese version of bonsai, because bonsai is more widely known by the general public. However, it will be more accurate to say that bonsai is actually the Japanese version of penjing. Its origin traces back to this Chinese art form. So more than 2,000 years ago, the Chinese began miniaturizing nature, creating small landscape in pots. And today we are familiar with the image of a tiny tree in a pot. But when you stop to think about it, it's a rather an unusual concept. When I took the charge of penjing collection, I wanted to explore the origin of this intricate and captivating art form. Some people have seen this image before. Yes. So it is actually the first evidence of a miniature trees cultivated in pots. It was painted on a mural on a wall of a funeral tomb during the Han Dynasty more than 2,000 years ago. So we are starting with the historical context. So the Chinese culture has a very ancient history, over than 4,000 years old. So we will see the evolution of art of penjing through the dynasties. So during the Shang dynasties, the cultivation of ornamental plants in pots was already a practice. During the Chu dynasty, it is the birth of Confucianism and Taoism. During the Han dynasty, this is the arrival of Buddhism in China. So, and this is the first evidence of miniature tree cultivated in pots, paint on the wall of a funeral tomb. During the 6 dynasties, it is a significant period of social turmoil, but also a very, very fertile time for art and philosophy. The scholar sought refuge in the mountains and chose lives devoted to artistic creation and philosophical thought. Nature became an important motif in artistic creation, and it is the beginning of landscape arts, painting, poetry, garden arts, and penjing. Art became a tool for spiritual development. Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism inspire society. During the Tang dynasty, it is a period of artistic flourishing. Landscape painting, poetry, garden arts are developed into an art of poetic atmosphere and evocation. The techniques of pruning and wiring were used. The rock collecting for aesthetic qualities was practiced. And it's the period where penjing developed into an art. So miniature scenes were created with poetry, plants, rocks, and water. This is when penzai became penjing. So penzai means a plant growing in a pot, and penjing means an artistic creation, a scene in a pot. So penjing embraced a more conceptual artistic approach, going beyond mere aesthetic. During the Song dynasty, the art of penjing gained importance. Different category of penjing emerged: the tree penjing and the landscape penjing. During the Yuan dynasty, the penjing was practiced by monks as an art of poetry and spiritual development. The Ming dynasty, the penjing reached great popularity, and several schools emerged across China. In the Qing dynasty, the mustard seed garden manual of painting became an aesthetic reference for painters and penjing artists. Penjing was no longer an art exclusive to monks and scholars, but became popular among the general public. And during the Republic of China and People's Republic of China, it is the decline and the rebirth of penjing. So towards the end of Qing dynasty, difficult social political conditions led to the decline of penjing. The Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 1976, was very harsh on Chinese art and culture in general. And many works were destroyed. Arts were considered elitist and to be abolished. They were an intent to eradicate traditional values. And by the late 70s, penjing art gradually experienced a revival in China. Today, as the Chinese reconnect with their traditional arts, penjing is growing in importance.
Marianne,
Yes.
can I ask a question? So, would that follow that prior to the Tang dynasty, would pensai be typically a single tree? tree in a pot, and then penjing developed, in addition to being a landscape, multiple trees in a pot?
I think there was a period that it was more clear that it developed in different categories. But I think it was always created a scene, so sometime,
So
but it,
Pensai, even before that, could it be multiple?
yeah, Pensai, yeah. When it became penjing, because Pensai is really a tree growing in a pot, but when it became penjing, it's more, we can think more a scene or a landscape. But it could be a single tree as well. But it's thinking to be a scene. So the foundation of the Chinese thought. So to truly understand an art form, it's essential to grasp its foundations and influences. The art of penjing is deeply connected to the Chinese culture. It reflects the evolution of Chinese thought. And the three pillars of Chinese thought is Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. These three philosophies share many similarities and are not so different from another. First, Confucianism. Confucius, it's the name given by the Jesuit. His real name is Confu. He's a Chinese philosopher. He lives in China in 551 to 479 before Christ. He values a virtual social order and structure rooted in the development of every human being. He values learning through experience and observation. He values self-masteries and authentic intention. Taoism is a combination of teaching based on several ancient texts, including the Tao Te Ching and the Chuang Tzu. They practice contemplation and inner silence. Taoism is concerned with the dynamics of the universe. The yin-yang dynamics plays a very important role in Taoism. Wishes to free oneself from the vain convention of the world, encourage non-action and self-mastery, values communion with the way, the Tao, through observation of nature. So Taoism has a profound influence on the arts of China. It can be said that the interest in landscape arts has its roots in Taoist philosophy. The importance of mountains, water, and vegetation in Taoism. The mountain and water are seen as the essence of nature. Chinese word for landscape is shangshui. It literally means mountain and water. And the combination of stone and water, stability and movement, embodies the concept of yin-yang. In Taoist thought, the water connects all living beings, represents movement, transformation, and balance. The mountains symbolize stability. The trees is considered the emblem of life. So water gives life to mountain, and minerals become life through vegetation. The yin-yang is very important in Taoism, and it's present in Taoism as well in Confucianism. The yin-yang is explained in the I Ching. It is the classic of change. And it's a principle based on meticulous observation of the dynamics of nature and time. This text is even considered to be the source of Chinese writing and the foundation of Chinese thought. The conclusion of the I Ching is the only thing that will never change is that everything always changes all the time. This means that change is the only stable foundation on which to build. So yin-yang is the functioning of life. It's a conception of the universe as a duality of two poles, the yin negative and the yang positive. The yin-yang is indivisible and interdependent, the two poles of the same thing. We can think of breathing, inhale and exhale, or the pedal of a bicycle. It's a dynamic of relation, alternance, transition, and transformation. And the relation of the two poles is also an element in itself. So it is from the point of interaction that the energy of movement of life is born. And the point of interaction is the center. It is the place of harmony and balance where the qi emerge. And in yin-yang, contradiction is not an opposition, but it's harmonization. The importance of the concept of emptiness, qi, time, and asymmetry. So emptiness, it is in emptiness that everything manifests itself. The qi, it is the impulse of life, the creation. The time, it is the continual transformation. And asymmetry, it is the image of movement. And influence of yin-yang on art. So artists valued periods of transition to emphasizing a dynamic nature. The artist shows nature, the artist shows nature in transformation. So good weather tending towards rain or rain tending towards good weather. The space is left for emptiness to allow essence to emerge. And particular attention is paid to the dynamics of contrast. Yin-yang is has also an influence in many spheres in Chinese culture. We can think of culinary art, harmonizing complementary flavors, sweet and salty, sour and sweet, textural contrast. We can think of the feng shui. It is the concept of harmony, of space, movement, and time. And yin-yang is also an important concept in traditional Chinese medicine. So the qi, now it can be the character of a person, the atmosphere of a place, the emotion of a poem, or the creative impulse of a work of art. So the qi emerges from the center. It is the breath of life, the essence of a work. And the qi must be perceived in the work. So now the Buddhism, it is a philosophy from India. We observing the reality, the Buddhism observing the reality as it is. That means accepting the changing reality of things, the impermanence. The law of karma is a cycle in which action leads to another. And the law of karma is often represented by a wheel. It is not so far from the movement of the yin-yang symbol. The meditation, it is the development of awakened consciousness through observation of reality. And the code of morality, it is the practice of ethics. So with the arrival of the Buddhism in China, we see the arrival of the monks. So it's people that dedicate their lives entirely to spiritual research. They live in seclusion in mountains and inspire many with their renunciation. The influence of the Buddhists on art. The monk's way of life is admired and represented in art. And monks use art as a tool for spiritual research. So these three philosophies have in common the importance of nature, harmony between man and nature is sought, the desire to elevate one's mind, and the importance of the path as a development process. So the art of the literati. So the so-called literati were the scholars of Chinese society at the time. And during the period of the 6 dynasties, political turmoil prompted the literati to take refuge in the mountains, to devote oneself to art, poetry, and philosophical reflection. Their creation conveyed to the essence and the emotion of the moment. It's an art of evocation, inspired by nature, philosophy, and poetry. It's a search for an ideal of spontaneousness in the line and an aesthetic of simplicity. Brush line evoke calligraphy, and they leave room for emptiness to make space for the spirit. And the art of penjing is directly inspired by landscape painting, poetry, and garden art. So penjing as a tool for spiritual research. Penjing is an art in constant transformation, never really finished. It's an art that connects men to nature and reflect their relationship. Create a penjing to connect with universe. So it's a work that is the result of the man's intimate relationship with nature, and a constant reminder that nothing is permanent. Now the Mustard Seed Garden Manual of Painting. It is a manual of painting techniques written in the early Qing dynasty. It reflects the influence of the aesthetic in classical Chinese landscape painting. The concept: let the qi guide your brush in a powerful, controlled gesture. Simplicity and refinement is valued. A sense of delicacy and vigor. Express originality without distorting the essence of things. Allow space for emptiness from which substance arises. And search for depth and perspective. So there are some examples. So this manual is still a reference for today's artists. So things to consider when creating a penjing. So there's concept, evocation, the essence, the scene, and yin-yang dynamics. So in Chinese aesthetic, we don't strive for perfection, but rather for expressiveness and harmony. There is no rigid code, so the following concepts should be seen as guides. First, concept and evocation. The concept is what is the idea behind the work, what we want to communicate. Evocation. So through evocation, we let the observer create the scene in his mind. The particular aspect of this composition is that we see a large tree overhanging small trees, but we also see the image of landscape representing a cliff. So the large trunk become a cliff, and with small trees going on its side. This is clearly demonstrate that the conceptual aspect of penjing and shows two scenes at the same time. So here, the trunk becomes a cliff or mountain, and the branches becomes a group of trees. So the shoots emerging from the stump are shaped to represent small forest. Zoomorphism and anthropomorphism. It is still an evocation. A tree evoking the form of an animal, or the scene of a large tree protecting a small tree represents a scene of the grandfather and his grandson. Essence and scene. So the essence is the chi of the work. The artist creates a scene representing the emotion of a moment he has experienced. The core of the tree is respected. Flaws are not seen as problem, but rather as something to that express its uniqueness. The scene, the aim is to convey the grandeur of nature through a few elements representing miniatures nature scene. Through the composition, one seeks to convey beauty, the richness of composition, search for expressiveness, depth of emotion evoked. The love of nature must be felt. And a poetic title helps bring the scene to life. So the title should evoke the scene poetically and guide the viewer. A penjing can be seen as a three-dimensional painting. The yin-yang, the dynamic of contrasts. So here we see one part of the tree moving forwards, very dynamic, while the other part is very stable and restrained. This tension illustrates the yin-yang dynamic. So there's a few examples of contrast dynamics to guide us in the creation of a penjing. First, dominance and subordination. One element dominates the scene and guides the viewer in his reading of the work. It makes the scene more dynamic. Dense and sparse. Contrast between density and sparseness create rhythm. And the dynamics of the density contrast enhance the quality of each. Rough and refined. Penjing that is too coarse lacks refinements, and penjing that is too refined lacks character. Firmness and softness. Could be in a penjing landscape, a cliff bordering a river. A tall pine dominating an island. In a tree penjing, it could be an imposing trunk contrasting with delicate branching. This contrast can also be expressed through elements like water and rocks, or through variation of textures and form. Wholeness and individuality. A composition is an harmonious collection of elements that amplify the poetic power of the whole. Each element must assert its presence and individuality. And the beauty of a composition arises from the integrity of the relationship between each element. Lightness and heaviness. This alternation generates a sense of dynamic tension. boldness and restraint. And a scene can be both stable and dynamic. These two elements can coexist and complement each other. Emptiness and substance. A good balance between emptiness and fullness invite the viewer's imagination to explore the scene. The interdependent relationship between emptiness and fullness is very present in Chinese art. In the literary style, this dynamic is essential. The literary style. So it is not a representation of nature, but rather reflect a state of mind and an artistic movement. It's closely connected to poetry in its aim to capture the human mind. Aesthetic inspired by calligraphy. There's a search for elegance, pure, simple lines that evoke elevation of the mind. Minimalism, in simplicity lies complexity. And this is a work where contrast between exaggeration and simplicity reveals the beauty of balance. Figurines. This is typically associated with penjing. It is a complement that, when used with taste and a good sense of proportion, it enhances the scene by giving it life without over-empowering it. It can be animals, figures, boats, or small dwellings. It is not a necessity. Now, categories. It is a question of perspective. So all penjing depict a scene, whether it's a single tree or a landscape. It is only the perspective that is more or less close up. First, the shumu penjing or tree penjing showcase one or more tree in a pot. So here there's a different style of shumu penjing. We won't go too deeply into this subject. They can be compared to the different style of Japanese bonsai. Wu Yunhua, a penjing professional, described them in his book, and these images are taken from his book. So, other examples. Now the Shanshui penjing, it is the landscape penjing, mountain and water. So the stone dominates the composition, and they may or may not contain plant. As with the tree penjing, there's different style of Shanshui penjing. This is I'll take in the Wu Yunhua book. Other example. So here's an example of Shanshui penjing. Here the landscape is placed on a marble slab filled with water to create a water mirror. But the water may simply be suggested by the stone plate. Here, in this case, we have no plants in the composition. It is only small figurines and rocks. The Shuiyan penjing, it is a subcategory of Shanshui, commonly called water and land, and it's a landscape seen close up. It could be a forest on the water's edge, a stream crossing a forest, an island. Water is always represented. And one of the artists who greatly developed this style is Zhao Qingquan. Here's one example. Another one. So the Chinese aesthetic schools, there is 5 main schools in China. So the China's vast size leads to a tremendous diversity of vegetation, landscape, and cultural tradition. This is reflected in the art of penjing, showcasing variation in techniques, materials, and aesthetics. Several regional schools emerged during the Ming and Qing dynasties. And prior to this period, only a few styles stood out, on which the literati still remain today. So the North School, Yangzhou, Suzhou, Shanghai, and Sichuan. The Yangzhou School, it's an aesthetic very artistic with a certain exaggeration. Meticulous attention to detail. The foliage is worked into fine, dense, and cut-out cloud. The foliage it's curved the foliage is shaped and curved using knotted straw threads, and the trunk are shaped into successive curves, echoing the movement of a dragon. Oh yeah, it's very special, very unique. The Suzhou School, we recognize this school for the aging appearance of contrasting trunks with luxurious foliage. An old tree lives a new spring. In this school, wiring, guying, and pruning were used. The Shanghai School, they form the foliage into pads called clouds. Wiring and pruning is used, and this is the style that is most closely resembled to the Japanese bonsai aesthetic. The Sichuan School showed trees with trunks and branches twisted in all directions, grandiose and with an unusual look, very artistic, and the square turn style is typical of this school. And the South schools, Guangdong, Hong Kong, Fujian, and Guangxi, these regions are all part of the Lingnan school, and Lingnan means the south of the mountains. The Lingnan school, it's an aesthetic inspired by the ancient school of painting, by the Mustard Seed Garden Manual of Painting. They use clip and grow technique uniquely, so the training by pruning and guying, and no ligature were used. The long branch suggesting a welcoming gesture is also very present in the style. It's a style very artistic and expressive. The foliage is generally not grouped in pad. The dramatic appearance of the trunk and branch line are broken, and they are often represented defoliated on display and to appreciate their structure. The appearance of the trunk and branches is uncluttered, and the trees are generally chosen for their ability to bud from old wood. There are 3 categories of Lingnan trees. So first the large trees, the towering trees, and the forest on a rock. The large tree, they have an age appearance, vigorous, powerful, wide trunk, solid and well established. the towering trees, they associated with the monk Suren in the early 28th century. The trees, they are trees with space, uncluttered line, elegantly reaching for the sky, and they are inspired by the literary style. Forest on a rock. It is also typically of the Lingnan school. A forest created from the stump, so trees are created from the shoot emerging from the stump. And the stump represents a rock or a mountain.
Are those rocks that are embedded in?
Also, yeah, I think it's like some rocks, but inside maybe old roots, and yeah, very, very special. So the penjing collection at the Montreal Botanical Garden, we are really lucky to have one of the biggest collection of penjing outside Asia. So it started in 1980. There was a Florally exhibition. It's a world exhibition on garden designing and horticulture that held in Montreal in 1980. And at that time, the Chinese had bought a lot of penjing trees, thinking they could sell them, but it was not a commercial exhibition, and the Chinese couldn't sell their trees there. So they donated them to the garden. So it was from this donation that the Botanical Garden penjing collection was created. Those trees are mainly from the Shanghai school aesthetic. So on the photo we can see Japanese maple, and here Chinese elm, which is created to resemble to an elephant. In 1985, we have a large donation from Mr. Wu Yun-sun. It's a professional penjing artist from Hong Kong, and he is a master of the Lingnan school from the south of China. Here we can see a Chinese hackberry and a Chinese elm, as we call the grandfather. So there's a grand tree with a small tree, so the reflecting the grandfather and the grandson. And in 2002, we have another large donation on the passing of Mr. Stanley Shin, an American of Chinese origin living in Maryland. And his style is very unique, elegant, and expressive. On the picture, it is two trident maples. So can penjing be approached in today's context, in today's Western context? So bonsai is well integrated into the Western culture, with the emergence of the North American and European bonsai style. And this is hardly the case with penjing, which is less well known by the public. Personally, I believe that by taking inspiration from the fundamental principle, we can create a penjing that reflects who we are. For me, the essence of penjing lies in the observation of nature, in the link between artist and work, and the expressive quality. Without necessarily imitating the Chinese aesthetic, but we can be inspired by the fundamental principle, and we could create a penjing in the image of the nature that enters us. And above all, it is an art that puts us directly in touch with nature. And it requires us to observe and learn from nature. So to complete the presentation, I will end it with a poem. So the energy of water held by 2 cup hand swallow the bow I see. The momentum of a fist-sized rock quells the Himalaya mountains. Apparently, mist and clouds are generated by this tiny space. Certainly, sun and moon are in the sky framed by this spot. Do not utter amazement at this absence of aspiration. A single hair can represent the universe. So in this poem, we understand that we wanted to miniaturize nature because the small contain the essence of the big. So we create living works representing miniaturized nature to capture its essence. So that is complete the presentation. I personally think that it is a fascinating art. I hope I shed some light on what penjing is and where it came from. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
What is the oldest tree in your collection, or about how old is it?
Oldest, I guess is around near 2,000 years old. But what is very impressive is that it's near 2,000 years old. It's in pots. So it's not like an old tree that it's a Chinese elm. So for the deciduous, it's very rare to find a miniaturized deciduous in nature. So they have to be taking care of miniaturizing tree for that long. Yeah.
Is that one of the trees that came over for the exhibit?
Yes, yes. From, but I don't know the specific origin of the tree. We just know that it's donated from the government of China. I don't have more specific information. Yes?
I know you sort of touched on this in your presentation, but maybe you could talk about it a little more. The examples you showed from your botanical garden, still a lot of those are single trees in a pot, whereas we always think of penjing as being sort of like this,
Yeah.
this landscape. So can you just expand on that a little bit? Why that's a penjing versus a bonsai? When you've got one tree in a pot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a little bit of everything, actually. So the kind of aesthetic, the kind of techniques, what a single tree can't represent a scene. So it's not only a landscape. It's represent a landscape, but seen up close, like you are in front of the tree. But it's created to be like a scene, and it is also the aesthetic of how we work the tree. So yeah, different of that.
Would the elephant tree be an example of that?
Yeah, very good example. I think I'm not an expert on bonsai because I only learned penjing, but I don't think in bonsai we have the zoomorphism. So it is very unique to penjing, and this is also like the conceptual thing. As I show in one of the picture, the tree was the trunk of the tree was also represented a cliff. So there's like two images at the same time, and at what I think of bonsai, it's not like that. It's more like a perfect Yeah, perfect tree, it's another approach.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Would you agree in saying there's a different emotion that you feel from viewing penjing versus a bonsai?
Maybe. I think it's more like there's a way more artistic approach in penjing, and it's more freedom of artistic.
Like a story.
Yeah, and you can express yourself like as a creator. Yeah.
Does it maybe make sense that in bonsai you're kind of trying to tell the story of how the tree grew that way to kind of represent nature and, you know, kind of duplicate nature, but in penjing you're putting more on the story?
Yeah, it is not penjing. It is not like just a representing of nature. When we learn about how it was created as an art form, it was very inspired by poetry, landscape painting. So it was more like an artistic approach.
So, Marianne, you're an artist. I'm an artist. I'm really interested in this idea of, you know, the presentation up close or far away. And my question is both the painting styles and the way you're presenting in the photographs, there's not really a background, right?
There's not,
There's not
sorry.
really a background. There's not really a context.
No.
It's hues, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you present it that way in the collection?
It depends where. Like a background, like just a blank.
Well, to control the view.
Yes,
Background.
we try, but it's not always possible. Yeah. Most of the time we try to put like a wall and just to see uniquely the tree and to it ends its presence. Yeah.
Present it in a way that the person viewing it would be constrained somehow or not very far away.
Ideally, the viewer can move, like they can take distance and yeah. On my personal thought, yeah.
The penjing is not trying to be a two-dimensional art.
No. Yeah.
How many penjing are in the collection?
Around 150, 170. They are not all finished, not all on the refined, but most of them.
And they haven't,
None were finished.
yeah, it's continuous.
Yeah, that's true. But finish at the time I can put them in the exhibition.
But they also have an equal number of bonsai there as well, and it's separated out. So over 300 specimens in the collection.
We are two curators for the two collection, which is very good for us because we can be really concentrated the style and not be like always in two chairs, because it's very a different way of thinking and aesthetic is different. And from some bonsai artists, they see the penjing like very hard, like it's like a lot of flaws, and it's not in the same thing. Yeah.
I have a question. So since the penjing are more artistic and you're not the original artist,
Yeah.
do you try to maintain it as a
Yeah.
static piece and
Yeah.
keep it like it is, or do you let it evolve as it grows over time?
It evolves in the same way that it was created.
Okay, so you try to keep the
Because
artistic-
as a curator, I have the responsibility to take care of the collection and to take care, like the tree was created to be like in the Lingland style. I keep working in the Lingland style with clip and grow and try to connect with the aesthetic. But sometimes it can lose a branch or fall and lose his head, or I don't know. Everything can happen. So it transforms, but I have to keep in the same aesthetic. Yeah.
In bonsai, we have to repot about every 5 years. What about penjing?
The same. Yeah, it is the same need for the trees. So it will depends of the essence of the trees. So yeah.
So horticulturally, there's really.
It is, yeah, it is the same. Yeah, yeah.
And then you said that you have a lot in development.
I have some in development. Yeah.
What expectation should we hold for the length of time? I know that they're never complete, and sometimes you can get close to an instant piece of art. But from a development standpoint, what is a typical expectation for something of that? How long is the stuff that you have in development? What is your expectation from when you started to when you may put it into exhibit?
Yeah. As I have so many trees, I'm not very in a hurry, like to achieve like the end of the thing, because I'm very busy. But for me, my way to work, I love to take the time. So I want to take time to take my decision. Sometimes I'm not sure about that angle. I leave it there and I work every day and I have to water it, and sometimes it's more clear and now I take the decision. So I'm not, it could take many years, but I'm lucky to work with this beautiful collection until my retirement. That is not tomorrow. Yes?
Are there other people in your community that enjoy developing penjing? Is there a club? Are there bonsai people?
There is, yeah, there is club, but not specific for penjing. Yeah, but this last fall, I gave the first course for penjing. So it was the first time the course was given in the club only about penjing. So this is good. But yeah, it's very a beginning of, I can feel the interest of people about penjing more now than before. So it's people are they know better the bonsai, and they heard about penjing, and I think they are getting more curious about that.
So, on the mountain style, on the slab, do you anchor the rocks in way?
It could, but not all the time. Sometimes we just place the rocks for the exhibition. Yeah. Yeah, for the water and land, so where it's like in between landscape, there are more like near the forest and the water. We have to glue the rocks, so it keeps the soil where we put the trees. But when we are working with like big rocks and put the trees in small, like small hole, yeah, small pocket, we don't really need to glue the big rocks, because we can put them like this
What do you
on the
do to glue on the small? What kind of media do you use?
Depends of people. Some people use like glue, I don't know, epoxy, or others use cement. Yeah.
For the stones, you're not gluing the plants.
No.
Just wondering if that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the question.
yeah, just
We're not
the
gluing
stones.
plants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you mind going back a few pictures so we can look at them and maybe discuss them? The one that I was interested in, if we go back a little bit, was It had it would look like a overhanging rock with a forest growing on top, but not
yeah.
not that one.
I know the. This
That one, yes. This is the whole tree. This
Yes.
is the stump
This
of
is
the
the
tree.
stump. Yeah.
So, it's like a raft, but I mean, how do they? I don't know. I guess they just take the branches and do they wire them? I guess they do. It looks like maybe they have wire on them. How do they create something like that?
Yeah. It's a curious thing. Yeah, but they take a stump and then they let the shoot emerging from the stump. They select the shoots that they want to keep it. And then they form the shoot to resemble of trees. And we don't see clearly in the picture, but here there's a hole and there's a small figurine inside like a cave.
Is that an elm?
I think yes. Yeah, it's not in my collection, but yes, I think it's a Chinese elm. Chinese elm are very popular in the penjing style, and they are really very vigorous, and they are budding a lot. So it's easy to work.
From a piece of root,
Yes.
so that's why they can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I noticed a lot of oval containers. Are rectangle containers
As well.
as well? Okay.
and what are those blocks underneath? The only thing we see up on blocks around here are cars.
Small.
Yeah, why do they put those on those?
Yes, it's like a table. It can be seen like that. It just to, small stand.
Yeah. Do they have like a
Small
name, or is
foot.
there like a little foot around each side?
Just little foot. Yeah.
That's all they're called. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the landscape style where they have water elements, did traditional penjing use actual water, or is it always just represented by like marble slab?
The two.
And did they have any techniques for making movement within the water, or was it always still?
Still.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Mostly still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even see, but I'm not sure I like that. But I even see like the water is represented by like some glue or something, epoxy. Not my kind, but here we don't have any water. It's just the slab, and but we can just fill with just a little bit of water, so it makes the appearance of a mirror. Yeah.
All right. So you want to go to another picture, and we
Yeah.
can talk about that.
Are you all in the old Olympic Stadium?
Near.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's in the like the stone building areas where the penjing is, isn't it? Or am I remembering it wrong?
The
But
stone.
there was a stone structure.
Inside the Chinese garden.
Yeah.
Yes, there is the
that
penjing.
what
It is the penjing exhibition site.
And then you
site.
walk out the bonsai area. Right?
The bonsai area are in the Japanese garden.
In the tea house?
Out. No, in that whole like big field. It felt like I just
Yeah.
enjoyed walking.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's a great garden.
The contrast between the two
Yeah.
really stood out because of the way that it was
But they're not
just
mixed at
positioned.
all. They're
No,
close to each
No.
other, right?
no. They are different,
There's-
presented in different areas. So the bonsai are presented in the Japanese garden and the penjing in the Chinese garden. Yes.
Are there other major permanent exhibits of penjing in North America?
Another.
Are there others that are?
Yeah, there's another important. It's the National Arboretum in Washington. It's like the other big one, penjing. It's almost the same donators as us. Yeah.
I'd say the UNC Arboretum has got a lot of penjing as well.
UNC.
University of North Carolina.
Ah,
It's in
okay.
Asheville.
Okay.
They have a nice one.
They have a lot of penjing there. They call it a bonsai garden, but it's probably 3/4 penjing.
Okay. Okay. I didn't
More
know.
penjing than bonsai. Very few bonsai. I don't remember any true bonsai there. But
There were some.
one or two. The rest were all penjing, and they are like the size of that stage. Some of them are
Okay.
permanent.
Permanent. Yeah.
Permanent,
Okay.
outside permanent.
Yeah, we have some permanent too.
But it's very warm there.
Yeah.
They have great.
Yeah, we have to protect them during the winter.
How do you protect them?
The like all in the penjing collection, we keep it in the cold greenhouse, like at 4 degrees Celsius. And we have a greenhouse for the tropicals too. Yeah.
Do you cover any outside?
Yeah, but the
Permanent?
permanent, but we have only 2 permanent, and they are put in like a cold frame or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Look at another. Want to
Yeah.
look at another one?
Do you have something in mind?
I love. No, we'll just keep
Okay,
going.
okay.
I love that one because it's just the
Good.
big stump with branches growing
I
out of
can
it.
show
Yeah.
you this one. So this one is part from my collection actually. So yeah, the sojo. This is a young one. So it was created like maybe 10 years ago. So not so far. And I had a lot of different plants in the composition.
Yeah,
And it's kind of big. It's like maybe large like this. Mm.
Do you change the plants in that one? That right there. Do you change those plants in those rocks?
We have to.
You have to?
Yeah, because it's growing and the force of the roots break the rock. And it's kind of hard to take care. So you have to repot it like very often. And you cannot let them grow in the rock. Otherwise, you have to like recreate the rock, which is like broken. You can maybe add some soil and recreate it, but no, it's hard to take care of.
What kind of rock did you use for that, is used for that particular?
Is it a volcanic rock?
It depends of what kind of scene you want to create, what kind of mountain you are thinking of. So if you want to create a mountain, you want to have like all kinds of the same rocks to create like the continuity in the mountains, but you can choose the rock you want. There's no special rule about that.
What about sourcing rocks? Are there particular places, ways to source rocks? Are there certain things one should
Source?
look for?
We were kind of talking about that
yeah,
when
okay.
we were talking at dinner. Places that sell aquarium stone are typically have rocks that are similar to what you'd look for. I tried to buy turtle grain stone, which is used in a lot of Chinese penjing, and I couldn't find it anywhere, so I ended up buying elephant skin stone from a supply place that does aquarium rocks.
What, I'm sorry, the images of the drawings, are those from the mustard painting?
No, this is from the Huyunhua book. So Uyunwa, it's a penjing professional, and he wrote 2 or 3 books. And he is the first one to really explain it in books, the art of penjing.
Is that on your bibliography?
Yes.
Is that the one that we were looking at?
Yeah.
That I have?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You can borrow it. It's $10 an hour. I'll bring it with me.
Is there other?
Well, let's just look at some more
Okay,
pictures
okay.
and talk about how they were created. See, I love that. That one's.
You don't know.
What's that?
Most of those are so old you don't know how they were created.
Right.
Yeah. The figurines.
You got 2,000-year-old tree. You can't even imagine who did that work originally.
Are there any guidelines to the choice or setting of the figurines? Like, obviously, probably simplistic or small, but any specific artistic guidelines for use of the figurine?
So we want to but to add something. So it is helping the scene or not. So when you add it, do you feel something like more? It gave the life to the scene. So it's you that you decide if it's. But you have to choose like the good proportion. It's very important. Yeah.
So in looking at these, are these pots any different than what you would use for bonsai?
The pots?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Normally, in my collection, I want to prefer using like antique Chinese. And sometimes they are an aesthetic very very colorful, or more less. I don't know the word. Like maybe more vibrant color sometimes. And it's not. Sometimes they are like very long and not so profound. Sometimes it's hard to put some trees in that. But yeah, I try to use more antique as I can, because it's an important collection. So I want to have good pots.
So is there some form of muck that is used for
the
plants and holding things?
the water and land, for the small landscape?
Yeah, to hold things in place.
Yeah, it helps. But sometimes I just put some moss, and it works well too. Yeah.
Do you find that's healthier? I find that's healthier, just using the moss with the.
Yes, because you don't put something that it can just. You want to have enough air in your pots. So the muck is very dense, and sometimes it just through all the air. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you use bonsai soil mix for the soil?
Yes, I use akadama. I don't know if you know shabasai. No, it's a volcanic rock from France.
Like pumice?
No, it's like between pumice and akadama.
Oh, okay.
Like, and I use volcanic rock and all the same. Yeah.
Got any more pictures? I want to look at some more
Yes.
trees. Now, I thought this was super interesting because, like, how did they make that? Was that clip and grow? Did they have to wire it into that shape? I don't.
Actually, I don't know. It's not in my collection, but it's black ebony. Yeah, black ebony. So sometimes they use the roots, and it was very cut, very dramatic. But for the exhibition, but the tree cannot live like that. So they have to leave it like grow, and then for the exhibition they are cutting very near and very like small leaves, and just very simple, but it's not living like this like all year long.
When you say they cut it down, you're not talking about the silhouette of the trunk.
No, the
Foliage
leaves,
is
the
what
foliage,
is
yeah,
intended for the exhibit, they
yeah,
cut back.
yeah, yeah, because a tree needs the leaves to live.
There's not much left for it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you try to like keep it like this, you will lose it. Yeah.
Does that go the same for some of those literati style as well?
Yeah, yeah, the same.
Elongate and then
Yeah, I can show you like this. So there's like 2 leaves. It's not living like this. So it was just made for the presentation.
Does any consideration need to be made for the weight of the elongation for the container and the slenderness of a literati like that?
Like the pots and the...
So when you elongate, how do you prevent it from being top heavy and toppling over? And how do you protect the structure of the tree during that non-exhibited
Yeah.
period?
You bend the pot. Yeah.
You wire it,
Yeah. As I do in my collection, I bend the pot outside because there's like big wind and you don't want to yeah. I guess.
So it's basically tied down.
Yeah, the pot. Yeah. So here there's also this when I said the long branches with the welcome gesture.
Does that branch come from behind the trunk, or is that?
I think it's like here. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, so there's one up top. Okay, there's one right above it that I thought it was the same thing. Okay. Is
Like,
there a pot in there? What? Yeah. What
Yeah.
is that? An urn?
yeah, it's an urn.
So what does that represent? Is it like an animal or just very abstract?
I think it's like yeah, kind of abstraction, but like when the tree grows on a structure and like take the like take the place of the structure. I don't know if the
Looks a little bit like a treehouse.
yeah. But it is very sculptural because a tree doesn't grow like that. So it is like the artists really bend the branches to be like take this form and to create this form. So it's not like a tree that you can see outside. It's very artistic.
We had some pictures of some trees that had a lot of 90-degree changes of direction. Very, very square.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, in the school.
The Minecraft tree?
So it is. Yeah. Oops. It's not that. This one?
Anyway,
The Sichuan school. So yeah, it is very artistic. So you cannot see a tree like this in the nature.
Yeah, that's like the anti-bonsai. It's like every bonsai rule is broken with that tree.
Uh-huh.
That's why they drive each other crazy.
Yeah.
It's the yin and the yang, right?
Are you familiar with the cosmic style?
Yes, from
Would
the.
you consider that an offshoot of a penjing style?
It looks more of a penjing for me.
Very artistic.
Yeah, it looks more
But there are
like
no patterns really at all.
no.
From that.
But we can see the patterns from his style because there's a lot of resemblance from one tree to another. Yeah, but it's very unique to which is creating. Mm. And this one. So this is very difficult to do. Actually, it looks simple, but it's very hard. So every branches are knotted like with straw, and it's like very meticulous work. So there's no like ligature with aluminum or anything like that. It's all with straw.
How does that work? Is it just restricting the growth?
I think they knotted each of the branch between to create like very small pad.
Are they just attempting to represent clouds?
Yes, it kinds of clouds. Cloud disk, they call it. Yeah.
You don't think that's just pruning?
No, it's pruning and like nothing.
They're wrapping, like tying for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know this technique. I never try it, but it's very specialized, and I think it's very difficult to.
Almost looks like an artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So there was a windswept tree that looked like it was in a storm. It was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Mm.
I can feel the wind.
You feel the wind in the moment. So it's not like the tree is like we can feel it that it's an image capturing like a picture. It's not like the tree grows like that. So the wind like just blow up and yeah.
He needs to be like bent forwards a little bit more though to
Yeah.
Holding on to the tree. So this is presented defoliated too.
Yes. It looks like it is working more than with clip and grow technique. So he choose the direction, but I guess he used some like wiring too, but I'm not sure. It's not my tree.
So the one that you had that had rocks in it, I think you said you thought they probably, that was probably a root that they dug up.
Yeah.
How do you find something like that? Dumb luck, I guess.
I think it was maybe it was a part of a stump and then takes different parts keep some roots and then create different trees like that. Yeah. Like here, there's the stump with the big rocks inside. So it's very interesting that we can see the mountains and the forest on the top, but it's actually a trunk with like branches and.
That tree looks different, like it didn't grow around those rocks. It looks like maybe it was carved and placed and then left to grow.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Could, I think. Like a tanuki. Yeah. But with rocks. Opposite way.
Oh, I really liked that one. I thought that
Yes.
was pretty
Yeah.
expressive with the smaller branches growing like they were trees.
Yeah, on the trunk. So yeah, I thought this one is very interesting because it really shows two images. So we see the big trunk and the big tree, and then we see the cliff and the small trees. Very interesting. And this one.
We have a club member who has planted some arborvitae in his yard, and he is trying to sculpt them into deer.
Okay.
He's doing a landscape kind of topiary.
Okay.
He would, it's Phil Cook.
Oh,
He would be interested in that photo.
Yeah.
I'll let him do all the growing, and then I'll come and dig it up.
Yeah. That one is very, very evident. It's not subtle, but I can show you the elephant of the collection of the Montreal Botanical Garden. It's a little bit more subtle, but it's very special. Yeah. Fish, yeah, I don't know. But this tree is like 150 years old, so it's very, very an old tree. And it's big. The trunk, it's like this. So it's not a small tree.
It looks like it's hollow too. Like coming in from the side. It looks like there's a hole.
Yeah. It's more like an elephant in decomposition. Like but still. Yeah, but you can see like the turning of the branch. You cannot see that in bonsai. It's like it's never represented like just a turn, like a branch turning like just like this. So. And here the style of a Stanley Shin is very, very unique to him. So it's not really inside of a Chinese school specifically. So, but we can really recognize the style. So it's always very tall, elegant, and very expressive. And there is also like some branches. We don't really know why you put it there, like this one, just here, but it is his signature.
All right, does anybody have any more questions? Anything they'd like to see? What's that, John? No.
Oh, well, actually, Randy Bennett was down for our show last year, and one thing he said on his Facebook group that I read recently was that bald cypress lend themselves very well to the different styles of bonsai, and probably also some of these kind of more unique styles within penjing because of how quickly they grow, and they are deciduous, so you can show them with the silhouettes that you have here on the right. So for those here, bald cypress is a native species. It grows quickly, and it's pretty resilient, and depending on where you get them, if they're not already styled, could be potentially inexpensive.
Yeah.
So consider if you want to practice some of these things, those would be good subjects to practice with.
Yeah, that's true. And they are budding from everywhere and every every scent. So yeah, it's good.
Don't plant them in your yard, you will be presented with a telephone pole within a few years.
And another, yeah, right.
Yeah. Big mistake. Well,
But it's dry.
branches and things come down, they're like green golf balls. And it just rained down all over. It's terrible.
All right. Well, I think that's it. So thank you very much, Marianne.
Thank